concept for this series is simple. What would happen if you took a vanilla Minecraft player and gave them all the mods to play with? Would they thrive in this beautiful and complex world? Or would it be simply too much for them to handle? Welcome to All the Mods 9. Hey everyone, my name is KryptoCal and welcome to the next episode of All the Mods 9. In the last episode, we went and set up this awesome ore processing system for our iron, gold, and uranium ores. We have all these machines upgraded to the max tier, and they are pretty much always running with some sort of material, and our crystallizers are actually doing okay being kept cleaned out, so we actually aren't backing up on anything. And as you can see, I did a little bit of just decorating in here. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for the entire aesthetic of this place quite yet, so this is very subject to change. And I also did the exact same thing over on this side. We might even add some more machines up on this upper layer here. Still a lot to do in this main room. I decided to add a glass ceiling to where the main tower is going to be, just because I was tired of all the rain coming in here. On the outside, I decided to just do one mock-up of one of the towers here that's going to be close to the main sanctum tower here, almost the same as the smaller towers on the outside. I think it does kind of fit exactly the height I was hoping for that area. The reason that these are actually glowing is I have added what's called some glow goop. Grace decided to put one of the fireflies that we have flying around here all the time in some amber, and they're actually now producing us this glow goop. And what's really cool about this is it's a very configurable light source. This is a block light level of 3. We can do one more and it becomes 8. And the final one is a 13 light level block. Grace has also been doing a little bit of work with the glow goop up there. She's actually lit up the tree a little bit more. So the tree actually is looking quite bright and epic now, especially at nighttime. This tree glows beautifully. Grace has also been working on some designs here for some small townhouse type buildings that I think she's planning on having be along this mountain here. I think she's planning on making a few more of them. They're just a nice clean little addition to the area here as she expands to create more of them. We've really been enjoying world building and kind of taking our time with the building in this world, and I hope you guys are also all enjoying watching it as well. And even though we have an absolute ton of mechanisms still to get through, we obviously have to get to the point where we're making antimatter. I think it's going to be a nice time where we can take a little bit of a pivot and do a little bit of something else besides mechanism before we dive right back into it. And I think the mod that we've chosen to kind of get into a little more is Botania. Botania is a mod that is, well, all about flowers.
This is the mod I have some familiarity with already.
We have a kind of a loose goal of what we want to get done in this episode in terms of Botania progression. I think the goal for this episode is we want to get to the point where we can make some Terrestrial. So what we're going to do is we're going to hopefully make a little bit of Terrestrial inside of this Terrestrial agglomeration plate. But once we go ahead and set up the crafting for a couple pieces, we can actually turn Terrestrial into Terrestrial seeds. And it only takes 4 ingots to craft 1 seed up. But we're jumping kind of way ahead of ourselves here. We have to get to the point where we at least are making some mana first. You're familiar with making mana, I'm sure, being an avid Botania enthusiast. What we're going to look at doing right now is probably starting off with trying to get some of these basic materials like living rock and living wood. And those are made by converting normal stone and normal wood into their various types here by using what's called a pure daisy. The pure daisy is crafted inside of a petal apothecary, and we'll show this setup in just a moment here using 4 of these white petals. And because we actually have, as Grace is pointing out in the chat here, this mystical flower essence that we crafted up and is being made with our seeds over there, we actually don't really need to worry about trying to automatically get these petals using the floral fertilizer. We can kind of just use and make them in our auto crafting setup, and we'll basically have access to whatever petal we need at all times. If we come in here to our recipes, I'm not going to go ahead and show every single one, but I'll show at least the white flower here. We can craft up this, make it the exact recipe, and then once we have this recipe here, yeah, we can craft up the mystical white flower into the petals. And finally, it might actually be worth to have the glimmering flower version also set, because, or at least one of them, because the glimmering flowers are used to craft up these floating versions, which if you're working in an area that doesn't have grass or dirt that you can place them on, this is actually a really important thing to have, because then you can place the flowers down anywhere you want. So we'll go ahead and actually teach it how to craft up the floating white flowers. Yeah, we have to actually make pasture seeds using a mana infusion setup here by tossing some grass in. All right, all of our flowers and their petals are on autocraft. To get some beginner mana setup going, we have to first craft up this petal apothecary, because that's how we're actually going to go ahead and craft up all of the different functional flowers that we're going to be wanting to get. So you need a seed, you need the flowers you need, and you need a bucket of water. Let's go ahead and craft up our first petal apothecary.
Woohoo.
I don't really know if there's any specific way we want to have this set up. What we can actually do is we can automate the filling of this with water as well.
Yeah, good idea.
We could probably put like a modular rotor underneath here. It's the Chalice of Harmony that counts as an infinite water bucket. We could probably craft up one of these, put it inside of a modular rotor, and have it just occasionally right-clicking on the thing here, and it should actually work. We're going to want to have an activator module in here, so we can place this inside, configure it to work on the top side, and we're going to want it to right-click, so we can just do a chalice, and yeah, there we go. We can just have it basically simulate a block like this. Now you'll never even know that that was a modular rotor. You want to do the honors of making the first pure daisy?
I can and will. You do 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that we're here, you need a seed.
Nice. Oh, it actually give us a reward with more pure daisies.
Here, put it. You can put it right here.
So basically how the pure daisies work is any block that's kind of like around them in a kind of the 8 blocks surrounding them, it will try and convert into a different material if it can. So let's just give an example of that. Let's get a little bit of stone out and we can show you what this is going to do. Yeah, the little shimmer here. And there we go. Here is our first batch of living rock being made. And we can go ahead and just vein mine this up. And now we have to do the exact same thing with some wood. We'll need actually quite a bit of the living wood because we both have to make what's called the wand of the forest. And this requires a couple logs, or I think like 6 logs per wand to make. So we'll have to make a few of those. Yeah.
Damn it. I'm trying to look at which flowers do what. I'm still a huge fan of the Entropinium. It gives you 6,500 mana per TNT. That's really nice.
I want to make my own wand up. We'll do 1 purple and 1 green. We can craft up our very customizable, colorful wand of the forest here. And there we go. Awesome. So this is kind of like the main tool for Botania. We'll be making use of this quite a bit in the future. The other side, we have to craft up some of the living rock into what is a mana pool.
I'm gonna hit you with a stick. Wait, what color is your stick?
Huh?
Mine's got blue petals.
I have a purple and green.
Oh, very fun.
So the mana pool is how we're going to end up storing all of our mana. We're also going to want to get some starter generation flowers. Now, the quest actually kind of recommends you to do a couple things in terms of producing early mana. One of the very common ones is to use an endo flame. Endo flames will just absorb any combustible item like coal. That will get absorbed and they'll produce mana out of it, albeit not fast. Endo flames are not very quick, which is why they are not the best for a long-term solution for mana production, but they're really easy to craft up, so getting a few of these isn't going to be too hard at all. So while Grace Degen creates stacks and stacks of the Botania materials, we'll go ahead and grab a bunch of the petals. So what we can do is throw 1 red, 1 light gray, and 2 browns in, and now we can craft up our first endo flame. And I'm going to go ahead and just be able to make a couple of these. What you can do is actually, if you just made a flower, you can right-click on the apothecary to put in the exact recipe that you just finished. And that's a way that you can kind of just spam produce a bunch of one type of flower. So we have 12 endo flames, which I think is going to be a pretty good start. We'll place down our endo flames just like so. And what we're going to do is need to get one more thing, which is going to be called a mana spreader. That's actually how we send the mana from these flowers into the mana pool. So let's go ahead and place down our mana pool. Let's place the mana pool down right here. Okay, so we have enough to craft up our first mana spreader. We're actually gonna get 2 of these, and we're gonna place 1 down here and 1 down right here. So to link these to the actual mana pool, we can just shift right click on one and then shift right click down on the pool, and we can do that with the other one as well. We can go ahead and throw one of these blocks of coal down, or even just a bunch of these coal down, and hopefully these should all start to pick up 1 piece each. Oh, these aren't actually linked. To actually link them now, we can just shift right click and shift right click them right to the spreader, and that will actually manually link them. If you place the spreader down first and these down after, I think they should automatically link to the spreaders. Now we have some mana coming into our pool. And again, this is a very temporary setup. If you actually have been doing any exploration, found any of what are called these black lotuses, these are essentially little storages of mana. So you can actually throw these into a mana pool and they'll be consumed and give you a little bit of mana. Now, these don't give a ton of mana. Now we can see that we actually have a decent supply in mana in here. It doesn't actually look like it, but that's actually quite a bit of mana overall. So one thing we're going to do here is just actually take a little bit of grass, just some normal blades of grass you can use with shears. And once we throw one of these inside here, it should convert into a pasture seed. Actually, I'm going to use most of the mana in here to just give us a nice bulk stock of these pasture seeds because they are going to be very useful in the future. So now we can actually take all this down if we want to and set it up somewhere completely different. And we can use the floating versions of these flowers. So we might as well do that while we have all of this emptied out here. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these floating endo flames. So if we get some floating white flowers, let's get 12 of them. We should be able to now take our endo flames, combine them with the floating flowers, and that creates the floating endo flames. And let's get a few more of our mana spreaders going here. 4 of these is going to be a good idea. So let's just get 4 of them right now. We're going to link them all to our mana pool, and we can place our floating endo flames just kind of down around the mana spreaders, and they should have automatically linked, which they have. The only thing we have to do now is find a way to get automatic coal to all of these endo flames. Now, one thing I'm not sure of is how far away they can actually reach to grab coal. So I kind of want to test that. If I come right where I'm standing here and place a bunch of coal down, how many of these endo flames are actually going to be able to grab it? Actually, it looks like all 3 of these endo flames here and on this side are actually getting the mana. And we're not going to really automate this with refined storage or anything. It's just going to be very bare bones. So I'll show you what I have in mind that we're going to use for this. We're going to get a couple pressure plates out here, place down our pressure plate right here, and there's going to be one also right here. So what we're going to do is make a couple of what are called these open crates from Botania. They just use a little bit of the living wood planks from the living wood that we're making over there. We're also going to want to get a couple of hoppers out, and that's basically the entire setup. It's not really that much more complicated. So we're going to actually use some of the create links, the redstone links. That's just going to be an easy way for us to send a wireless redstone signal from the ground up. We're going to put 1 coal in this redstone link, and we're going to put another redstone link up here on the hopper. So what's going to happen here is once there is a piece of coal sitting on the pressure plate here, it's going to give a redstone signal to basically lock the hopper, and it won't let anything go into the open crate until there is no longer a piece of coal there. So it'll just kind of manage how much coal we have sitting around. We're going to do the exact same thing on this side, but we're going to use a double coal signal instead. We're going to go and place a stack of coal in this barrel, and we should only see like 1, maybe even 2 pieces of coal at a time, but it looks like just one's getting through, which is perfect. All right, so this is all set up, and this is pretty much all we're gonna need for the early game. What is Grace doing over here? She's been pretty silent, which makes me a little concerned. Get back here. What are you doing?
No.
What have you been doing?
Nothing. It's just the mana.
What have you been doing?
Living wood.
No. I saw something else. What was it? It was a bee. I saw a bee egg.
Living wood. You didn't see anything. He didn't see it. He didn't. I promise.
So to get to the Terrestrial, we have to get to this Terrestrial agglomeration plate, which is going to involve us getting a couple of runes crafted up, which isn't going to be too bad. The only thing that Terrestrial really requires is a bunch of mana. So we're going to probably want to upgrade our mana setup while we're doing the Terrestrial, because that's going to be quite a challenge if we don't.
Yeah, we're going to need it sooner than that. The Terrestrial just it drinks mana. Like, it needs so much of it. And it isn't like with Powa, where if you wait long enough, it'll just like eventually get to it. The items, at least last time I was playing Botania, they despawned.
Yeah, so we're going to want to look at getting mana upgraded ASAP here. And it looks like they have all of the options for mana production flowers on the left side of Botania questline here. So I've used a few of these different production flowers in the past. There is one called the Entropinium, which basically uses TNT explosions to generate mana, and it's pretty powerful favorite. If you have an automated way to produce TNT explosion. There's also one flower called the Rosa Arcana, and the Rosa Arcana uses XP orbs to generate mana, and we actually have infinite XP from our mob farm, so that is also a valid option that we could use, and it actually is quite cheap. All it requires is a bunch of petals and 1 rune of mana, which is just some mana steel and a mana pearl, which we actually already have a bunch of. So that is actually really easy to get right now.
In this table.
That is the runic altar. So we have to actually provide this altar with mana for it to craft the runes up. And unfortunately, before we get things like sparks, the only real good way to do that is going to be by grabbing a mana spreader. But we can actually craft up one of those Rosa Arcana pretty easily. And we can see how fast it actually generates mana just as a test.
There you go.
And now we're producing 1 rune of mana.
And you're going to need one of these.
Now we just wait until it finishes filling it up with mana. And now that it's done, we can just right click with our Wand of the Forest and produce our first rune. Ooh, I got a rune of water as a quest reward. In a petal apothecary, we need 1 rune of mana and then all of these different flowers. Throw all of this in, and then we just need to throw in 1 seed. There we go, our first Rosa Arcana. And we can actually turn this into the floating version. Place it down here for now. It's linked to this mana spreader right here. Oh, it's very fast. Wow, it fully filled this mana spreader up.
Wow.
And it's got a huge backlog. I think what it's doing is it's actually draining my experience as I'm standing near it. And I have a ton of levels, so it might even be worth it just to make a bunch of these and just have a spot we can sit in here.
Is this the new AFK location?
Because these can only be attached to 1 spreader at a time, even though this is very fast. So we're gonna actually have to make 4 of these at least. Or if we want, we can even make some more spreaders probably. The possibilities are endless.
If there's 2 of us here, there's so much we can do with that.
All right, well, let's make maybe a couple more of these Rosa Arcana up, and then we can actually take this setup down and rebuild it specifically for these if we're gonna kind of go all in on these flowers.
I think it's worthwhile.
I think it's a little bit nicer than explosions. It's a little more friendly to be around.
You don't have to be a buzzkill about it.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and probably craft up a few of these runes of mana, make a few more of these Rosa Arcanas, and we'll come right back. Okay, so how many of these do we end up having?
I have these 5.
We've determined, though, that these Rosa Arcanas can grab your experience in all 8 blocks around where you're standing. If you're 2 blocks away from them, though, they can't grab experience from you, but they can get it from you on a diagonal. I think the optimal setup would be for at least 1 player would be to have somewhere that we can stand and have 8 of these Rosa Arcanas. We could probably even have 1 below us too, but I think just 8 around us will probably be enough, and send into 8 different mana spreaders, where then they will send into probably a mana splitter to then spread out the mana that we're going to be producing across a bunch of different mana pools. All the mana splitter does is if you have the spreaders going into this, it will basically use any adjacent mana pool and it will pump mana directly into those. So it basically will let you support up to 4 different mana pools from 1 splitter. Later on, we're going to get into some more of these sparks and stuff to move mana around and store mana, but this is a good option to get us a decent bank of mana. Now, I didn't want to drain all this mana or to get rid of it because it's kind of a waste. You just craft a tablet with some more mana steel into the band of mana, and we just throw it inside here. We're going to right click, shift right click to change it to putting mana into the actual ring itself instead of draining it. And then we can just grab it. There we go. So now we can break everything down and kind of reset it up how we like. All right, so I have 4 mana spreaders. I'm going to need to get 4 more. And I'm hoping that these will automatically link to the correct spreader. They should just link to the closest one. So then all we should have to do is just make sure that these are all going into the splitters. That looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's draining my experience pretty quick, but as you can see, we can support all 8 of these. Not the most interactive way to generate mana, but it at least works pretty fast. Sparks are a good way to move mana around, and all it takes is some blaze powder, some of the random petals, and some gold nuggets here, and we can craft up as many sparks as we want. Now, the sparks are useful a little bit as they are currently. They're not super useful without some of these augments, though. To get these, though, we have to get into some more rune crafting. We have to get some pixie dust, which is going to come from a little bit later on with the Elven trading portal, and that involves first getting some Terrestrial.
It's sucking the life out of me. Ah!
To get Terrestrial, we need to get the Terrestrial agglomeration plate, which is going to involve us getting a couple more of the runes. So let's go ahead and place this back down. I think what we're going to do is place a mana spreader down. We're going to place it down beside this mana pool right here. So it's actually going to pull the mana out of the pool it's attached to. And then we're going to just kind of send it right into the altar. We're going to need to also get a rune of fire on the go. Takes another brick, gunpowder, and a couple other things here that we already have. That's our rune of fire being crafted. These are really cooking here.
They are sucking the life out of me very slowly, but they're very pretty, so I can't be too mad.
All right, so we need a rune of air. There we go. And finally, we need to craft up, I believe, the rune of earth.
Something like that. I'm gonna make another one.
So let's go ahead and place in all of the blocks we're gonna need to make this setup. It should be something like that, and then we place the plate right in the middle.
Ooh.
Now this one we can actually use sparks for, but we don't really have access to the augments for sparks quite yet, so I don't really think there's a reason to... Let's try that. Let's try and see if we can start crafting one up. It's going to take 1 mana steel, 1 mana diamond, and 1 mana pearl. And now, if we have our magnet off, we should be able to place all 3 of these down and have this start its craft to become Terrestrial. Are you making a bee? What are you doing? What is going on here?
It's okay. They're not hurting nobody.
Work. Don't despawn, please.
But
I'm adding more spreaders. Why is this taking so long? Oh. It just despawned in front of my eyes. The only thing we can do to make this a little better is, I think, craft the lenses up. These are going to help us, like the velocity lens will make it so that the mana gets sent faster from the spreaders. So getting the velocity and I think potency lens. And then what you can do is you can craft these up and then combine them together to make a composite lens. And I think we'll probably end up doing that before we try that again. Because I think...
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Because I have a feeling that it's going to just need it.
It gets sad after a while.
I think what we do now is we take some slime balls and we can combine them just like this. So we get a composite lens, velocity, and potency. I'm going to go ahead and just put the lenses on these for now. After we actually craft up a few of these Terrestrial, I'll probably end up moving these lenses to be on the actual spreaders that are supplying the mana. But for now, we'll just have it so that these are going to be hopefully going quite a bit faster. Go!
Dance around it. Maybe that'll help, I guess.
I have a good feeling about this one. This is the one. I can feel it. And all this just makes 1 Terrestrial. It's actually insane because we just need just 4 Terrestrial to make 1 seed.
Hey!
Oh, we did it. Let's go.
Now we gotta do it again. It might be worth investing that Terrestrial ingot in the portal to get the faster spreaders.
That is probably true. Okay, yeah. And then also we can get access to the sparks by having the pixie dust and stuff. So, okay, so let's set up the Elven portal somewhere. To open that portal, we need to get the Natura pylons. So that takes 3 Terrestrial nuggets per pylon, and we need 2 of them. I believe these have to go like here. Just like so.
Okay, so it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Oh, did you open it?
It didn't work because this one doesn't have any mana. I just clicked it by accident and didn't mean to. It needs a half a pool to be able to properly open. I thought. That's what I was under the impression of.
All right, so the portal's open. Now we can kind of keep this running for a bit. This will have enough mana to last for a while, so let's just maybe go and get some pixie dust. That is a mana pearl through the portal.
So Dreamwood is one thing that you can get from there, and you use it for the upgraded spreaders.
What we're going to do is grab our sparks out of our storage, and we're going to place them down, 1 down on top of here, the agglomeration plate, and the other ones we're going to place down on top of all of the other mana pools. For example, if I take a dominant augment here and apply it to our terrestrial plate, every spark that's not a dominant spark is going to automatically try and send mana from its pool. We can demonstrate that by actually crafting up 1 more Terrestrial, and it's going to be actually a lot faster this time now that we have the sparks. All right, so these are the Elven mana spreaders. They are going to be running a little bit faster than the basic tiers, which means they're also going to be draining our experience even faster.
Oh, it's going so fast.
There's quite a bit of mana in these pools. We should be able to craft up at least 1 more Terrestrial here, and this should be going way faster. Look at that. Almost immediate. Perfect.
That was wow. That was incredible.
And there's still actually enough mana for another one, I think. So I have 2 Terrestrial. We need 2 more, and then we can make the seed. Mystical agriculture. You've done it again.
Look at it go.
Oh yeah.
It makes me want to cry. It's so beautiful.
All right, there we go. Terrestrial should be on autocraft. So what I want to do is have 1, instead of having the spreader, the mana splitter, we're going to put a spark on this one. This is going to be a recessive spark. Place that right on here. All these other ones on the outside are going to get normal sparks. So all of these are being fed by this 1 mana pool, and we don't really need this running super fast. I'm thinking maybe we can try and set up that auto XP with the ender tank. We're going to have 2 taps on each side. And now if we take our wrench, configure this to pull. So we're not going to be able to keep up with the max rate of these roses. The limiting factor, unfortunately, is just how fast we can have experience coming in from a mob farm. But I don't really think this has to be running at its max efficiency if it's just running in the background. We could even go and grab that crystal from the storage room that has like thousands of levels saved up and just put this where the tank is, and I think it'll just drain it. So we have 124,000 buckets of experience in here. Oh, it's a different type of XP. Nope. Interesting. Is this overkill?
Boy.
Yes, we are gonna have to obviously fight the Gaia Guardian, which will be a fight that we're gonna do probably in the next episode. Why don't we, as the last part of this episode, do one more little adventure to fight one more boss?
I am
What do you think?
perfectly ready. Let's
What do you
go.
All right, so here is the Cursed Pyramid, home of the Ancient Remnant. These guys are awful.
Those things are they're nightmare fuel. I hate this.
I don't like them at all. Oh,
Yeah, I got one of those too.
there are traps here. I bet those normally would hurt you, but I think I have fire immunity.
Yeah, me too. Oh, those things come running around the corner at you. That is terrifying. They scare the crap out of me. They run up so fast.
He's a cool looking guy.
There's a bunch of sand. You brush on that side, I'll brush on this side.
I got it.
I got one too.
Ready? There he is.
Oh, I swabbed him. Oh no.
Oh, he summons tornadoes.
When you get stuck in the tornadoes, your orientation of your controls is backwards.
Oh, I hate
Which is
that.
just the worst thing I've ever seen. He's shaking. He's shaking, Bacon. I'm just gonna whack him a bunch.
Yoink.
Oh. You yoinked him. Oh! Okay. Hey, man. Can you put him in a quantum catcher? I'd really appreciate it. We're gonna go to the box of containment. He's big, though. We're gonna need a big space for the fly.
Get in, loser.
Is he dying?
He must be cold.
He's having a rough bit, okay? He's going, though. He's doing his
him,
thing.
buddy.
Buddy, you can't just
Oh,
go.
oh, he did
it!
He did it. Let's
He
go.
did it!
You're so
Oh, wait,
sick,
wait.
bro. Just his legs are stuck.
It's because he's a leggy boy.
He's the leggiest boy around.
This is ridiculous.
But I think that's a good place to call it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I really hope you did enjoy. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Rawr.
Also, if you haven't already, be sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description down below. But that's it from me, everybody. I hope you all have a good one, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.